Have you ever talked to a salesperson and it feels like they have the perfect answer for absolutely everything you say? Well, turns out it's not magic, it's a script. And today, we've actually got our hands on one, the real internal objection handling playbook from Justdial. We're going to pull back the curtain and see how it works.
You know that feeling, right? You bring up a perfectly good reason not to buy something. Price, or maybe a friend had a bad experience. And then, bam! Without even a pause, the salesperson comes back with this smooth, logical, and honestly, pretty persuasive answer. It almost feels like they're one step ahead of you the whole time.
Well, here's the secret. They are. They're not reading your mind, they're reading a script. What you're looking at right here is page 1 of an internal playbook, literally designed to counter dozens of different reasons a customer might say no. And today, we're going to take it apart piece by piece.
Now, this playbook isn't just a list of snappy comebacks. It's really a masterclass in the psychology of persuasion. So to really get it, we first need to understand the core technique they're using.
It's called objection handling, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's the art of turning a no, or even just a, I'm not sure, into a yes. It's all about anticipating a customer's hesitation and having a strategy ready to go to resolve it right then and there.
So as we dive into this playbook, you'll see tons of specific objections. But what's really interesting is that they all kind of boil down to just 4 main themes: concerns about need, competition, cost, and trust. Let's tackle the first one.
Okay, so this is a classic need objection. The customer's basically saying, this isn't for me, I'm too small, and you know what? That's a totally fair point. But the playbook has a very specific 3-part comeback ready to go.
Check out how they do this. First, they make the problem universal by talking about how everyone needs an online presence. Then, they make it feel urgent by hitting them with local search data. Look how many people are searching for you in your city. And then, the final punch. They create a little FOMO, that fear of missing out, by mentioning that their direct competitors are already on the platform and winning. It's a pretty slick move.
So let's say the salesperson creates that sense of need. But now the customer says, okay, fine, but why you? I could just take out a newspaper ad. This brings us to the competition objection.
And this is how they frame the argument, which is just brilliant. They position traditional ads like newspapers as something that's gone in a flash. It has a shelf life of just a few hours. But Justdial, they frame that as your permanent 24/7 digital storefront, always on, connecting you with customers who are already looking for what you sell. They're not just selling an ad, they're selling customers who are ready to buy.
And now for the one every salesperson on the planet has heard: price. It's just too expensive. This is usually the toughest hurdle to clear, but believe me, the playbook has a whole strategy dedicated just to this.
What's crucial here is that they never, ever discuss price in a vacuum. The moment the customer says expensive, they immediately pivot to value. They'll hit you with data on potential leads. They'll bring up other businesses in your area that are paying for it. They'll even throw in the extra value of getting traffic from Google. And if all that fails, they've got a final move. Offer a monthly payment plan to make that big number feel a whole lot smaller. It's a full-on assault against the word expensive.
Now this one is really tricky. It's an objection based on trust, or, well, a lack of trust, because a friend had a bad experience. This isn't about numbers or features anymore. This is personal. So how does a script handle a personal story?
With a clinical step-by-step process. Isn't that fascinating? They don't argue about the friend's experience. Instead, they become a detective. Their first question is, was your friend a paid member or a free one? And that one question creates 2 totally different paths. If the friend was on the free plan, they can blame the bad experience on the limitations of that service. But if the friend was a paying customer, the script tells them to dig for data that might prove the service actually did work, and maybe the friend just didn't see it. It's a really clever way to take apart the objection without ever calling the friend a liar. So, we've seen how they handle need, competition, cost, and trust. But here's the kicker. What if I told you that underneath almost every single one of those responses, there's the exact same, repeatable, 3-step psychological formula?
This right here is the secret sauce. Acknowledge, reframe, pivot. It sounds simple, but it is an incredibly powerful structure. Let's break down each step and see why it works so well.
Seriously, go through the whole document and you'll see it over and over again. The first instruction for almost every rebuttal is acknowledge the customer's statement. This is so important. Before they even try to change your mind, they validate your concern. It's a simple phrase that basically says, I hear you, and that makes sense. It completely lowers your defenses and builds just enough trust for the rest of the argument to land.
Okay, so step 2 is to reframe with data. After they've agreed with your feeling, they introduce a hard fact that completely changes your perspective. This number is a perfect example. A small business owner might feel like they're all alone, but a number like this reframes the situation. Suddenly, they're not an outsider, they're a potential member of a huge, successful club of over 500,000 other businesses.
And the final step is to pivot with social proof. This is what makes the big data feel personal. It's not just about 500,000 businesses across the country anymore. Now it's about your direct competitor down the street in your area who's already using the service and getting customers from it. This taps right into our human nature to follow the herd and creates this powerful feeling that you're being left behind.
All right, so now that we've got the micro-level tactics down, let's zoom out. Because this whole objection handling playbook, it doesn't exist in a bubble. It's actually just one part of a much larger, fully scripted sales call.
Check this out. This is from another page in their training material. It shows the entire roadmap for a sales call. And the objection handling stuff we've been analyzing, that's not a standalone thing. It's the defensive playbook they run whenever a customer tries to deviate from any of these steps. It's all designed to keep the conversation moving down this very specific path.
So why does breaking all this down actually matter for you? Well, because whether you're the one being sold to or you're the one doing the selling, understanding the pattern is power. It lets you see the strategy happening behind the conversation, and that empowers you to make smarter, more conscious decisions instead of just getting swept along by a good script.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've spent this whole time analyzing a script designed for humans to talk to other humans. But in a world with more and more AI, customer service, chatbots, and algorithms, you have to wonder how much of the persuasion we face every single day is already following a script just like this one, and how much better are those scripts going to get? Definitely something worth thinking about.